I was born blind. At 5 years old, my parents abandoned me on Snow Peak Mountain. Luckily, my fate wasn't sealed yet. My master, without a word of complaint about my eyes, frozen blind, offered me a hot bowl of congee, saving my life. I followed him up the mountain, studying the Tao for 13 years. Beyond spiritual teachings, he imparted knowledge, taught me how to be human, how to establish myself. At 58, my master achieved liberation on the very summit of Snow Peak. From then on, I descended into the mortal world, my eyes veiled by a black silk ribbon, to make a living. That day, a woman sought out my fortune-telling stall. She was clearly a virgin, yet pregnant, and inside her womb there were 10 snakes. 1. Before his passing, my master bestowed a name upon me. For the first time in 18 years, I, a blind woman, had a name, Ngo Kwan-ki. Kwan-ki, as in the saying, a true gentleman observes the game without speaking. After closing the mountain gates and descending to earn a living, I became a fortune teller. Today, sitting across from me, was a woman named Grace. She had just graduated from university and worked for a foreign company. The benefits, treatment, and salary at foreign companies are generally excellent. She was the envy of many of her friends, but just as she was about to be promoted to manager, an accident occurred. Today, due to her mistake, the company lost an order worth 5 million yuan. She was reported by the client and subsequently fired. At this point, Grace couldn't stop sobbing in front of me. I silently handed her a tissue. I don't know what's wrong with me. For the past week, I've been losing hair constantly, suffering from insomnia, feeling panicked, unable to concentrate. Internal medicine, surgery, psychology, psychiatry, gynecology, urology, I've seen them all. I even sought out spiritual healers, but I'm still like this. I feel so uneasy. After she finished unburdening herself, I asked for her birth details to divine her fate. Do you have a boyfriend? No. I frowned, closing my eyes and counting on my fingers to the children and grandchildren, palace. I asked her to give me her hand. The moment my fingers touched hers, my frown deepened. As my fingers grazed her wrist, I felt an unusual pulse beneath them. I was stunned. How could one body have so many different pulses? Wait, what's going on? Her voice came, laced with apprehension. I retracted my hand and looked up at her. You're pregnant. Pregnant? Don't joke with me. I don't even have a boyfriend. I'm still a virgin. How is that possible? Are you sure you're a real fortune teller? Her voice trailed off, filled with doubt, disbelief, and even a hint of anger. Hearing her words, my heart tightened further. A virgin. I pressed her. Haven't you been having frequent spring dreams lately? And haven't you missed your period for 2 months? At my words, Grace, who had been about to walk away, immediately stopped. It seems so. My heart sank to the abyss. Then do you remember what that spring dream was like? It was just doing that with a man whose face I couldn't clearly see. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just in a red room. But it's been so long, I can't remember. I think I dreamt it for several nights in a row, Grace stammered. It was exactly as I had suspected. Sexual dreams brought on by an evil entity. Grace had been targeted by something sinister. I'm really pregnant. How can this be? I have to go to the hospital for a checkup. With that, Grace made to leave. I quickly stood up. Don't go. Why? What's wrong? Her voice trembled slightly. I took a deep breath and told her to sit down. I spoke. Don't be afraid. I gripped her wrist, facing her, and whispered, the pregnancy you carry, it's not human. 2. Her hands visibly trembled. I wasn't trying to scare her. Just now, I had felt at least 10 different pulses. Moreover, Grace's body temperature was much lower than a normal person's. By all accounts, she should have been suffering from hypothermia, exhibiting symptoms like numbness in her limbs, confusion, full body tremors, and muscle stiffness. Yet she showed none of these, seemingly completely unaware. There was only one explanation for this condition. Whatever was gestating inside her was causing it. If she went to the hospital for an ultrasound now, it would undoubtedly cause mass panic. Hypothermia, cold blood, multiple pulses, it was parasitic. My heart suddenly throbbed as if I had thought of a type of serpentine creature. Grace seemed to disbelieve my deduction. But when she continuously borrowed 7 or 8 thermometers from 5 different pharmacies and scanned her forehead, her entire body recoiled as if struck by lightning. I could hear her teeth chattering, her voice trembling. 20 degrees? How? How can this be? She collapsed weakly beside me. I quickly helped her up. What do I do? She clutched my sleeve, beginning to panic. After drawing a calming talisman on her palm to soothe her, I pondered for a moment, then spoke softly. Your birth chart is pure yin, your female body is yin, the orientation of your home is yin, and even your name belonging to water is also yin. You are an extremely yin person. Extreme yin attracts snakes. It finding you was no coincidence. Let's go to your house first. I'll see if there's a way to break this curse. Hearing this, Grace quickly called a car, and together we went to her house. 3. There's a road ahead, let me help you. No need, I can manage myself, I smiled faintly. Even though the heavens had taken my sight, I could perceive the flow and existence of Chi asterisk. The images seen by the eyes had merely transformed into a different kind of energetic perception. Therefore, I didn't need a walking stick and could navigate without hindrance. Her residence was located in the *Dewey* position of the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams, about a kilometer from a water treatment plant. The residential area, named Spring River Garden, was a high-end apartment complex overlooking the river, far from the city center. Each unit had a swimming pool, all apartments larger than 200 square meters. Despite being far from the city center, the complex was self-sufficient, with supermarkets, shopping malls, pedestrian streets, parks, and schools. She said the reason she chose to buy here was for the quiet, suitable for her parents to live in later. I was a little suspicious. Although this place was far from the center, the housing prices were not cheap. A 200 square meter apartment would cost at least several million yuan. She was just a fresh graduate. How could she afford to buy here? But I didn't ask further. It was her private business. However, the area being sparsely populated was true. Although I couldn't see, I could perceive through sound and Chi asterisk. This place severely lacked yang energy. The residents here were certainly the elderly and young children. And perhaps because of its proximity to the large, cold river, the air was heavy with moisture, sticky, and oppressive. It must have been around 1 or 2 p.m., and regardless of the direction, there should have been sunlight. But when I stepped into her house, I felt none at all. Living in such a place for a long time, even if no evil spirits came calling, one's body would surely develop problems. Lead me to the balcony, I said in a low voice. The balcony is the Chi position of a house. It gathers wind and accumulates Chi asterisk, serving as an excellent place for Chi asterisk to exit and enter. A good balcony faces east or south. The moment one steps onto it, one feels refreshed, clear-minded, and it gathers wealth, leading to smooth operations. But when Grace led me to the balcony, after carefully sensing, I shook my head. Female Taoist master, you really can't see? Then how do you read Feng Shui? Do you see with your heart? She asked quietly. I tilted my head, pointed my hand towards the southwest corner of the balcony, and gently said, that spot once showed traces of spirit gathering and soul summoning. Was there a mirror, wind chime, or anything similar placed there before? Grace clapped her hands. Yes, I used to hang a wind chime there. Later, I heard it wasn't good, so I took it down. I nodded, then turned back to the living room. Just as I was about to speak, I suddenly noticed something unusual. I tilted my body, looking forward. In that instant, my heart sank, and I instinctively clutched the ritual implement in my pouch. Grace, what is that object hanging on the wall? Grace seemed confused. Nothing, just a painting someone gave me. They said hanging it in the living room could ward off evil. It's over 3 feet long, an ink wash painting of lotus flowers. Take that painting down, I said in a deep voice, turning my hand to pull out a talisman I held. After a moment of hesitation, I heard Grace stumble back 2 steps, her voice trembling as if she couldn't stand steadily. She plopped onto the floor. This! At that moment, I felt an icy, malevolent chi immediately spread throughout the room. Snake skin, Grace shrieked. In my mind, the image of a great serpent with venomous fangs and blazing red eyes, its pupils vertical, appeared. In that instant, I formed a sword finger mudra, threw a talisman, and chanted a spell with both hands. Fire command. 3 fiery talismans appeared, bathing the entire house in a brilliant red light. The snake skin on the wall instantly turned to ashes. In the blink of an eye, only a charred black patch remained on the wall. The moment the snake skin was destroyed, the yin energy in the house vanished. A cool breeze swept through the room, invigorating the spirit. "Mama," Grace stammered. I bent down to pick up the lingering ashes from the floor and sniffed them. A faint, lingering stench remained. It was a great serpent that had cultivated and gained sentience. If it were an ordinary snake, this skin would be precious, holding medicinal value. But it had cultivated. Its malevolent yin qi was too strong. It was no longer suitable for medicine and had to be burned. This place already lacked yang energy, and being occupied by this beast, the yin multiplied. It was no wonder she encountered such misfortune. It would be strange if she hadn't. "This snake skin was shed no more than 3 days ago. You've been living in this house for days. Didn't you realize it was right here in the room?" Facing my question, Grace was startled, utterly clueless. "So what do I do now?" Grace's voice trembled, tinged with a sob. From my perception of *chi*, this snake skin must have been at least 7 zhang long, over 20 meters, coiled up and hidden beneath that painting. The snake eggs within Grace were undoubtedly connected to it. We had to find it. Moving out is useless. You have snake eggs inside you. Even if you went to the ends of the earth, it would still find you. Unless you die. Based on the current situation, you only have a maximum of 3 days of yang lifespan left. Once the snake eggs in your body hatch, your body will surely not be able to withstand the damage from this prolonged state of low temperature. You'll surely die. Hearing my words, Grace could no longer hold back. She grabbed my hand, pleading desperately, "Save me. Whatever amount of money you want, I'll pay. I don't want to die. I don't want to die." I crushed the remaining ashes in my hand, deliberated for a moment, then turned to face her. "To live, you must take a risk. It's now the *y* hour, 1 to 3 p.m. There's still enough sunlight, we still have time. Go prepare 50 gin, 25 kg of high-proof Realgar wine, a large wooden tub, 10 gin, 5 kg of chili, 10 gin, 5 kg of garlic, and 10 gin, 5 kg of ginger. Bring them back and take everything to the rooftop. Remember, be quick." Grace now had no doubt about me whatsoever. She swiftly rushed out to procure the materials. To save her, resolving the problem within her body was paramount. As for the snake itself, I drew out my ritual whisk, went to the balcony, and lightly flicked it. Feeling the sunlight pour down, my master's teachings echoed in my ears, each word sharp and clear. After years of learning spiritual arts, if you ultimately resort to reasoning with evil spirits, what was the point of learning at all? Exorcising demons and eradicating evil is our responsibility. As long as evil entities harbor ill intentions towards people, Kwan-ki, you need not overthink. Just remember one word: slay. 4. Before long, Grace had prepared all the materials. After placing the wooden tub in the sunniest spot on the rooftop, I instructed the workers who brought the wine and other items to pour everything into the tub. I turned to dismiss the curious workers. On the vast rooftop, only Grace and I remained. I silently chanted a spell, using a talisman to conjure fire, and threw it into the wooden tub. Boom! Immediately, a towering flame erupted within the tub. I flicked my ritual whisk once, the air crackled with a sound, and the flames immediately dissipated by half. At this point, I took out a small packet of cinnabar powder from my pouch and sprinkled it into the tub. Feeling satisfied, I took out another talisman and handed it to Grace. "Hold this talisman in your mouth, take off your clothes, and step in to soak." "Ah, right here, and it's so hot. There's still fire in there. Won't I burn to death if I get in?" Grace was unwilling, her voice laced with fear and resistance. "If you want to live, do it." I had no time or inclination to explain further. In about half an hour, the sun would enter the *shen* hour, 3 to 5 p.m. By then, the sun would be setting in the west, and the yang energy would no longer be sufficient, significantly reducing its potency. Grace heard this and seemed to struggle for a long time before she tremblingly took the talisman from my hand and placed it in her mouth. The rustling sound of clothes being removed reached my ears. A faint body scent wafted towards me. So I'm going in now?" She still seemed uneasy, asking me one more time. I nodded. She took a few deep breaths and stepped into the wooden tub. The splashing of water echoed. "It clearly has fire, but it's not actually hot. I even feel a little comfortable." Her voice, filled with surprise, reached my ears. I walked to the tub and lightly touched the water's temperature. Her body temperature was already completely different from that of a normal person. The urgent task now was to warm her body back up. Hot water, high-proof alcohol, combined with yang attribute items and sunlight, was the best way to restore yang energy. You'll feel comfortable now, but in a few minutes, you'll feel very uncomfortable because the parasitic entity on you won't be able to bear it, I said softly, quietly drawing a tiger's whisker from within my ritual whisk and throwing it into the wooden tub. Tigers are known as the mountain king, a pure yang entity, yang to the extreme. With the blessing of this tiger's whisker, it would surely be effective quickly, not to mention this ritual whisk had accompanied me in performing rites for many years, carrying the heavenly might of a divine general. Indeed, it was not beyond my expectations. About 5 minutes later, Grace's soft moans reached my ears. "Master, I feel my body getting hotter and hotter. My chest is so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. My limbs can't move, I can't breathe anymore, I want to get out," Grace cried, seemingly unable to endure it, trying to step out. I frowned, forming a Zai seal with one hand, and lightly patted her forehead. Immediately, Grace's struggle seemed to diminish significantly. "Try to endure a little longer. If you really can't, swallow the talisman in your mouth." "Yes," a gulping sound followed. The next moment, I could distinctly feel streams of frenzied black chi begin to surge out of Grace's body. The cinnabar blood rooster talisman for protection was also extremely strong and yang. Once it entered her body, the snake eggs within her would surely be unable to bear it. "Ah!" As Grace's agonizing scream echoed in my ears, I clapped my hands, forming a seal and chanting a spell. "Expel evil, cleanse sins, purify the spirits, remove yin, assist yang, 3 souls unite, evil scatters." I stomped a ritual step. When the seal was complete, I heavily slapped Grace's back. "Erg!" A low groan. Grace slumped against the edge of the tub, vomiting violently. A foul, slimy stench immediately permeated the air. 5 piles of putrid, liquid goo on the ground. Without needing to think, I knew they were the snake eggs that had parasitized Grace's body. Through the circulation of *chi*, I could feel them still squirming, still showing signs of life. The next moment, I formed sword fingers, throwing out 2 yellow fire talismans. Hiss, hiss. Even within the fiery talismans, faint whimpers emanated from the snake eggs. I paid them no heed, turning to prepare to pull Grace, still in the scalding hot water, out. Since she had vomited the snake eggs, there was no need to continue soaking. Otherwise, once the talisman's power dissipated, her mortal body would not be able to withstand the heat of the boiling water. At that point, something truly terrible would happen. Grace was now slumped against the edge of the tub. Although she retained consciousness, her entire body was limp. I wrapped my arms around her waist, directly lifting her out of the water. Although the girl wasn't tall, she was quite heavy, at least over 50 kilograms. Fortunately, my master had tempered my muscles and bones on the mountain, helping me retain my strength even without visibly bulging muscles. Otherwise, I genuinely wasn't sure I could lift her. Master." At this moment, she leaned against my shoulder, whispering softly, "Put my clothes on." Seeing she still had the strength to cling to my shoulder, I gently placed her on the ground, saying calmly, "Wait for her to get dressed properly." I heard her teeth chattering. "Master, I feel so cold, so cold." I took her pulse, then took out my gourd of wine, pouring her a small sip. "Hold this 5-year-old Huida wine in your mouth. Don't swallow it immediately. Swallow slowly, otherwise your throat will burn." After doing these things, and feeling that the snake eggs had been burned to ashes by the fire talismans, I accompanied her off the rooftop. Returning to the room, she rummaged through her wardrobe, pulled out an electric heater meant for winter, and put on thermal underwear, a sweater, a down jacket, a hat, and a scarf. Only then did she seem to feel a little more comfortable. "Grand Master, am I okay now?" I shook my head. "Although the snake eggs have been expelled, your body won't necessarily fully recover. For now, you've only managed to save your life. There are definitely remnants left in your body. To completely remove them, we need to use medicine, slowly treating it like unwinding silk from a cocoon. During this time, you will surely suffer from prolonged cold and low body temperature. Only when your mortal body gradually adapts can you return to normal." Having said that, I also opened my wine gourd and took a sip. An inexplicable feeling of vexation suddenly flashed in my heart, and my expression gradually grew solemn. But this matter isn't over yet. That snake shed its skin and laid its eggs here. It has considered this place its lair and you its host. When it senses those snake eggs have been destroyed, it will surely seek revenge. By then, whether you're here or not, there will only be one outcome. I exhaled a breath of turbid chi asterisk, my voice cold. No death, no rest. 6. Grace's body seemed to tremble. Perhaps the sight of the snake eggs earlier had left her traumatized. Now, hearing my words, her voice shook with terror. No, I don't want to die. Grand Master, you have to find a way. At this moment, she gripped my clothes tightly. I said nothing, turning my back to her. After thinking for a moment, I spoke in a low voice. Is there anything else you're hiding from me? A recent graduate being able to afford a house in this area. All right, even if she could buy it, why would it be such a coincidence that she won the lottery, so to speak? To buy a house and live with an enlightened great serpent, something many people might never encounter in a lifetime, yet it happened to her. She even survived, treated as a host to hatch snake eggs. This probability is far lower than winning the grand prize in the lottery. You must remember, no one suddenly becomes extremely unlucky or extremely lucky. Everything has a cause. Grace definitely knows something, she just hasn't told me. Seeing she remained silent, a flicker of disappointment crossed my heart. To let go of personal prejudice and respect others' destinies has always been my principle. A spiritual ritual performed without clarity, I will not do. Just as I was about to stand up and bid farewell, Grace's trembling voice reached my ears. I knew this house had problems, but I never expected it to be this serious. Otherwise, no matter how much money I was offered, I wouldn't have lived here. Actually, this house was given to me by my boyfriend. I frowned, stopping in my tracks. Boyfriend? Didn't you say you didn't have a boyfriend? Perhaps sensing my frown, she quickly explained, Please don't misunderstand, Grand Master, I didn't intentionally hide it from you. She seemed to struggle for words, but finally gritted her teeth and told me everything. Next, I understood the whole story. Grace indeed had a boyfriend named Ethan Chen. He was a domestic partner of the foreign company she worked for, currently the deputy general manager, only 35 years old, yet possessing assets exceeding 10 million yuan. A handsome and wealthy diamond bachelor, he was naturally the object of admiration for naive university graduates like Grace. Ethan also had feelings for her. The two started dating and developed a relationship, but fearing a negative impact, they never publicized their relationship, keeping it a clandestine affair. Initially, Grace was slightly bothered by this secret relationship, but Ethan was not only good to her, but also extremely upright and gentlemanly. After more than a year of dating, he still hadn't touched Grace. When asked, he said he wanted to preserve Grace's purity as a guarantee for their wedding night. This act was also meant to signify his commitment to their relationship. Grace trusted Ethan's character. Hearing these words not only dispelled her petty thoughts about the secret relationship, but also made her love Ethan even more. However, Grace later discovered that Ethan was not only married, but had also lost his wife. I found a photo of a woman in this house. Ethan told me it was his ex-wife. She died in this very house. 7. As she spoke these words, Grace's voice trembled, accompanied by the sound of her teeth chattering, as if her entire body was shaking. His ex-wife, abandoned by her family since childhood, suffered from depression for many years and never recovered. I know people with depression can be very extreme, I understand. But he wanted to give me a house where someone died to live in. I felt uneasy. After that, he found someone to perform a ritual and redecorated it. Only then, and with him staying with me, did I agree to move in. Last year, my parents urged us to get married. He said the company was in a development phase and asked me to wait 1 year. After 1 year, he would definitely marry me. This house was the down payment. He would transfer the title to me then, for me to deal with as I wished. He even offered me 3 million yuan as a betrothal gift. I admit, this temptation, I couldn't resist. This house is worth over 8 million yuan, I couldn't bear to give it up. So I believed him. But afterwards, the longer I stayed, the more I felt something was wrong. As I told you when we first met, my body wasn't well, and I frequently had spring dreams, but he didn't. At first, I just thought the house wasn't clean, so I even brought many auspicious items to display in the house. At this point, she paused for a moment, then her voice began to grow agitated. I could feel her eyes on me, filled with fear. But I really didn't know there was a snake in the house. I admit I love money, but I also need my life. Whether ghosts can kill me or not, I don't know, but snakes definitely can. So, Grand Master, please don't abandon me. I really didn't mean to hide it from you. And my relationship with Ethan, I didn't know how to tell you. Anyway, I still have tens of thousands of yuan in savings. If it's not enough, I'll go gather more for you. Please save me? Grace's voice was tearful, as if she had knelt before me. Please believe me, I've never done anything bad. I've never even bullied small animals, let alone hurt a snake. I don't know why it appeared in the house. I remained silent, only bending down to help her up. I could understand people's greed for money. Her fault wasn't a major one. The key issue lay with Ethan. All of this was absolutely not a coincidence. A moment later, after her emotions had stabilized, a detail suddenly flashed in my mind, and I softly asked, "Do you know how Ethan Chen's ex-wife died?" Grace answered without hesitation, "Hanging, death by mechanical asphyxia." I turned my head to look at her, my brows furrowed. Hanging, my heart sank to the bottom. "Are you sure it was hanging?" Grace swallowed. Yes, Ethan himself told me, and he even showed me her death certificate. But he didn't tell me where she hung herself, probably afraid I'd be scared. But I guess only the chandelier in this living room could support a rope. Nowhere else would work, which means it was right above us. I looked up, sensing the bright light above. At this moment, I had a foreboding feeling. She could have died by jumping from a building, she could have died from illness, she could have died in any way, but the one way she absolutely could not have died was by hanging. The soul of someone who dies by hanging carries the greatest resentment, and their spirit body lingers in the place of death for a long time, not dissipating easily. If it were a vengeful spirit from hanging, the moment I stepped into the house, I would have sensed it immediately. But there was clearly not a single trace of ghostly qi in this house. I didn't even sense that someone had died here. Qi cannot deceive people, only people can deceive people. Ethan was lying. I even suspected his ex-wife's death was directly related to that snake. Perhaps she was even devoured by it. Wait. In that instant, a startling conjecture flashed in my mind. A snake 7 zhang long, which is over 20 meters, even if coiled, would still be a massive circle. I am blind, but Grace is not. Living here for nearly a year, she couldn't possibly have discovered nothing. Either she was also lying, or there was only one possibility. "Grace, where is Ethan now?" Perhaps sensing my urgency, she quickly replied, He must be at the company now." "Call him, tell him?" Halfway through my sentence, my heart suddenly pounded, and goosebumps erupted all over my body. I immediately turned and took a step, shielding Grace. Almost instantaneously, a wave of cold, malevolent chi asterisk seemed to engulf my entire being. "Grand Master, you're..." I gripped my ritual whisk tightly, a murderous glint flashing across my face. "Stand still behind me. Don't run around later, don't move. No need to call him anymore. He's in the house." 8. Grace still seemed skeptical. At this moment, the sound of water running echoed from the bathroom. A moment later, the sound of a door opening and leather shoes stepping on the floor rang out. Ethan, when did you get back?" Grace's voice trembled as she tugged at my sleeve. "I gave you a house to live in and you don't even appreciate it. It's one thing to go out, but you can't even close the door. This is my house, can't I come back? On the contrary, you've grown quite bold. Daring to bring random people into my home, huh?" A deep, masculine voice resonated, its anger steadily rising. I could sense that at this moment, he was like a venomous snake flicking its tongue. His vertical pupils stared at me, filled with malevolent light. "No, I found this Grand Master too." "No need to explain anything to it, asterisk," I interrupted Grace, stepping back one pace and gently struck the back of her neck with my palm. She immediately seemed to lose consciousness, falling limply to the ground. The next scene might not be suitable for her. Grace's psychological endurance was poor. It was best for her to be unconscious. "You implant snake eggs into a human body, truly vicious. You gained a bit of spiritual cultivation and dare to do anything you please. Do you truly not fear divine retribution?" I faced Ethan, my voice cold. Initially, I was a little uncertain, but the moment he appeared, everything was answered. It was the whimpering of the snake eggs that had called him back. He was that 7 asterisk Zhang asterisk great serpent that had shed its skin. HMPH, a blind little Taoist priest, by what right do you speak so arrogantly? My hundreds of years of cultivation destroyed by you in an instant. In this life, I will not ascend, I will kill you to vent my rage. Give me your life. A furious roar erupted, accompanied by a resounding asterisk thud. The large floor-to-ceiling glass window behind me completely shattered. Facing the sharp teeth and venomous fangs before me, I exhaled a turbid breath, took a sidestep. As my ritual whisk swung, the Tai Kai Wanian Great Ultimate Myriad Manifestations emerged. I tilted my head slightly, and the black silk ribbon binding my eyes slowly fell. Feeling the rosy glow of the sun and moon outside the window intermingling, I clasped my hands, forming a mudra before my chest, my expression reverent. The next moment, my half-closed golden eyes slowly opened. Like an immortal looking down, I commanded the heavenly might of a divine general. In a single instant, the snake's head stopped half an inch from my hand seal, unable to advance another step. Before me, a black and white screen seemed to shimmer with ripples, while behind it, the snake's body coiled upon itself, compressed like a spring. At this moment, I seemed to see the terror in its vertical pupils. You, who exactly are you? You are not worthy of knowing my name, I said dismissively. Seeing it seem to want to escape, I gently pressed my hand down. At this moment, my Taoist robe billowed without a breeze. The snake's head was pressed down as if by 1,000 pounds, slamming violently onto the ground, unable to move. I was wrong, don't kill me. I merely flicked my ritual whisk indifferently, my expression calm, yet in my mouth I chanted a single word of the heavenly might. Sever! In that instant, the air seemed to stagnate for half a second. Despair filled the great serpent's eyes, its body trembling. In a flash, it was as if a blade descended from the 9 heavens. The snake's head and body, severed in one stroke. The body still trembled, but the head was motionless. I retracted my hand, my half-closed golden eyes slowly closing, returning to their former state. Picking up the black silk ribbon from the ground and retying it, I became blind once more. I turned my head to look at the shattered floor-to-ceiling window, seemingly just a half step from the height of the 28th floor, and gently stepped back. Although I couldn't see, I knew the scenery outside at this moment was breathtaking. Beneath the crimson glow of the evening and the boundless setting sun, flocks of wild geese seemed to fly across the river. 10. Grace awoke, gazing at the desolate scene on the floor, as if a battle had just taken place, speechless for a long time. It was fortunate I had dealt with that great serpent beforehand. Otherwise, she might have fainted again upon waking, perhaps even suffering a major shock. A snake over 20 meters long, its head as large as a human's, would surely attract the attention of authorities. Such evil creatures could not be exposed, even its flesh was poisonous. To avoid trouble, I had cleansed it completely with spiritual arts beforehand, melting it all into residue, keeping only half of the snake's head, with its brain, in my pouch. Grand Master, what happened here? Am I dreaming? The living room was nearly shattered, the TV on the wall broken. Even before the shattered floor-to-ceiling window, there was a large hole in the floor, almost as if a battle had occurred. Facing her questions, I rubbed my nose, feeling a little awkward. I then briefly explained that I had chased away the snake and told her not to worry in the future. Then, what about Ethan? She asked, stunned and a little bewildered. I paused, almost forgetting about Ethan. I couldn't tell Grace that he was a snake transformed into a human. Immediately, my mind raced. A moment later, I came up with a plausible reason. Between Ethan and this snake, it's highly likely there was a master-servant relationship. He allowed you to live in this house for you to carry the snake eggs, precisely for that snake to cultivate. When you fainted, Ethan called the snake. During our battle, the snake grew enraged. Ethan, I couldn't save him. I apologize. Having said this, I initially thought Grace would be overcome with grief. Ethan was dead. Would this house still belong to her? After all, from beginning to end, she was almost entirely deceived. So that's how it is. So his ex-wife also died because of this, didn't she? Hearing her voice, a slight tremble, a flicker of doubt crossed my heart. Wasn't Ethan her lover? She wasn't worried about him. Why did she turn to ask about his ex-wife? But I didn't think much of it, only nodding faintly. Perhaps she was also used to her death. At this moment, I didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but I seemed to hear her sobbing, trembling. Good, good. If he had no good intentions, then dead, dead it is. Grand Master, thank you, Grace said, her voice trembling, bowing to me. I had intended to compensate her for the damage to the house, but unexpectedly, she said it wasn't necessary. This house may not even be mine. For now, just leave it empty and unrepaired. I'll fix the floor-to-ceiling window later, just enough to keep out the rain and wind. I'll deal with the rest slowly. Grand Master, you don't need to worry. Since that was the case, I found it inconvenient to say more, so I simply did not accept any payment from her. However, she still invited me to a meal. At the dining table, I wrote her a prescription to recuperate her body, instructing her to take the medicine upon returning home. After eating for a while, she suddenly burst into tears for no reason. I thought she was crying for Ethan, wanted to speak, but held back, finding it inconvenient to say much. I could only sigh, put away the prescription, gently offered a few words of comfort, then turned and left, allowing her to be alone in silence. Days later, Grace did not contact me again. I heard that Ethan's family had repossessed the house. This matter was considered temporarily concluded. Later, I used spiritual arts to extract the memories from the snake's head, recalling its entire life. Only then did I realize that Grace was not the only victim harmed by this snake. It originally cultivated in the mountains, fortunately gaining sentience, but its spiritual cultivation was insufficient to immediately transform into human form. Coincidentally, Ethan led a team into the mountains for camping. This snake then possessed him in the mountains. Furthermore, during the 3 years this snake had cultivated, the number of people who died by its mouth reached hundreds, sparing no one, male or female, old or young. It manipulated Ethan, once even controlling an ocean-going cargo ship belonging to the foreign company where Ethan worked. When the ship reached international waters, all 80 people on board died because of it, devoured alive. Refining the living souls of these people caused its cultivation to skyrocket. The first thing it did after gaining sentience was to kill people. Indeed, it could not be allowed to live. Zunzai once said, "Man's nature is inherently evil." This statement once again triumphed over Confucius after 1,000 years. However, among the hundreds of people it had murdered, the face of one woman left me a little stunned. Unexpectedly, she bore an 8/10 resemblance to Grace, and when I learned this woman's identity, my heart suddenly chilled. This woman also had the surname Jiang. Her name was Ling Jiang, Ethan's ex-wife. She had been drained of her vital essence and yang lifespan, then choked to death by the snake itself. Wait, reconsidering all of this. Although everything seemed logical, I increasingly felt that something was off with Grace. This Grace, though greedy, had a certain self-restraint. Her background was not good. She belonged to 2 different worlds compared to Ethan. Her future was destined not to bear fruit. She surely understood this truth, and she wasn't as money-hungry as she claimed. Otherwise, after Ethan's death, she would have certainly tried every means to acquire this house. Viewed this way, everything was contradictory. Thinking of this, I grew a little curious and immediately used her birth chart to divine. When I divined to the siblings, palace, my hand trembled slightly. Grace indeed had an older sister. Could Grace have intentionally approached Ethan to avenge her sister, using herself as bait to lure the snake out of its lair? To be able to do this, could they not be biological sisters? Alas, alas, the matter is concluded. There's no need to dig deeper into the root cause anymore. In short, the one who deserved to die has died, and the one who deserved to live continues to live. That is enough. Yet thinking of the 2 sisters, Grace and her sister, I couldn't help but remember someone. Before his passing, my master once said, "You have a senior brother of the same sect, surnamed Yu." Many years ago, he sent a letter stating that he also took in a female disciple, naming her Yu 13. I wonder when I will finally meet this legendary junior sister of mine.